Okay, all right. I see us live, pros. If you're watching on Zoom or you're watching on Facebook, welcome back to Pro Power Hour. If this is your first time here, this is a product training webinar that we do every single Thursday at this time. It's been off for the last couple of weeks for the holidays, but we are back. You can kind of think of this as really like a free onboarding session that you can get. We have a whole library of all of our past sessions. In fact, one of our employees today who's just starting here told me that he was watching all of our power hours last night. So it's a great way to learn the platform. If you're new to Housecall Pro, you need a refresher. If your field tech or your office staff needs to learn how to use the system, we have some dedicated sessions for that as well. And I'll drop the link to our help center and the YouTube videos. We're going to kick off the year talking about some kind of seasonal topics, things that you want to know about all year long, but really we're going to focus on reporting and payroll and some other topics in the coming weeks, and I'll post a list of those in a little bit in the chat. If you have any questions along the way, we'll be able to take those. If you drop them in Facebook, I'll be watching that, or you could drop them in the Zoom chat, and Phil will start reviewing those. Uh, we're grateful to have Phil with us almost every week. He's one of our onboarding specialists here at Housecall Pro. You might be a familiar face if you've gone through onboarding. So yeah, Phil, welcome back.
Yeah, it's good to be back. And welcome everybody back who has been joining us along this journey. We're going to keep pushing forward. Got some exciting stuff for you coming out in the new year, so excited to get into it. But yeah, we were discussing the other day just how we were going to kind of start the year, and we just think that it would be a good idea if we just kind of go over what reporting is available in Housecall Pro, just because, as we know, a lot of people are trying to get their end of the year documents in order and get ready for the new year. So really just going to kind of hit a refresher on what's available in reporting and the kind of reports that you can pull. So as we'll kind of go back to our old method here, I know we took a couple turns in the last couple of sessions, but we'll just kind of go through a slide deck a little bit. Again, just kind of giving you all some information about what is available in reporting. And then once we get through the slide deck, I'll go ahead and open up my account and kind of show you all some of just maneuvering through reporting, as well as giving you all a guide on how to build some of the most common reports I typically hear from a lot of pros. So let's go ahead and get into it, and we'll start with our slide deck. So first thing is just kind of talk about the benefits of reporting, what reports are available on the home page, talk a little bit about the reporting dashboard, how to search, create, and save reports, sharing and scheduling reports, and then, as I mentioned, time for questions and a little bit of a demo. So our benefits of our reporting is obviously maintaining data integrity, just making sure everything is accurate and reliable. So we have all these reports in-house calls so that as long as you are doing everything and inputting all the information as you should on every single job, every single estimate, we can get as accurate and reliable reporting as we can. Tracking progress and performance, giving you insight into the performance of your business goals, monitoring those key performance indicators through some of those reports. We did have a question that came in earlier about finding some KPIs within our reporting. We'll get into that a little bit, as that can be a little bit nuanced in terms of the reporting we do have available. But really, just again, tracking the progress and performance so you can see the effectiveness of your business initiatives. Also being able to facilitate decision making. So as we're going through some of these things, like one of the common ones I always show my pros is getting really taking advantage of the lead source field that we have. Because with every business, when we want to generate more business, we tend to try to look into different marketing avenues. And so by making sure that on each customer, on each estimate, on each job, we are putting in where this customer heard about us or where they called in from, now we can start to see where our marketing time and money is best spent. Um, and another one is material detail tracking and our job costing. So being able to pull those reports, see areas of where we can cut some of the expenses that we have, as well as also see some areas where we can throw some more money into. And then lastly, which is most importantly, which is why we did it this year, this time this year, is compliance and accountability. It's just making sure that everything is up to date that we need for the new year and closing out the last year. So being able to generate those necessary reports to demonstrate the compliance and relevant regulations. Homepage reports. So I believe it was one of our last sessions before we took our break. We did go over the home screen and we also went over the dashboard. So if you want a little bit more in depth on both of those, we'll kind of touch on it today, but I did spend a lot of time going into the what is available on the homepage reporting and what is available in the dashboard reporting. So I would strongly recommend checking that session out, but for newer pros that have come on over the last, I want to say year, year and a half, maybe 2 years, you really only have the homepage reporting. And what's in there is just kind of a quick view of being able to look at all of your open estimates, being able to filter them so that you can see which ones are open and which ones are, well, I mean, that is the open report, but you can see how many have been approved, how many haven't, be able to create estimates and be able to bulk edit some of those lead sources. For invoicing, same idea, being able to look at all of our open invoices. If we go in a little bit further, we can start to throw in a couple of filters and kind of build that report that we want to look at of our open invoices, seeing which ones are due, past due, unsent, having the ability to find which ones that need to be resent again or send ones that we haven't already sent off, and being able to mass send or bulk send a bunch of invoices at once or delete a whole bunch at once as well. Unscheduled jobs, we do have the little notification that sits on your schedule, so I'm sure most of you are familiar with the little side window that has the list of all your unscheduled jobs. But obviously, most people prefer to look at a report, so we can always click on the unscheduled part of the home page, and that'll allow us to view and manage any of those jobs that haven't been scheduled. And you can filter within that list to find specific business units, specific job types, and as I mentioned earlier, this all can be accessed from the little notification in the upper left of the schedule screen. And then there's also upcoming unscheduled service visits. So any of you all that are doing service plans or service agreements, this is where you can be able to see at a quick glance of how many are coming up this month. So continuing on with the homepage reporting, as we go ahead and get into there, there is a place for all estimates. So again, just looking at all of our estimates, looking at all the different views, which ones have been scheduled, unscheduled, approved or declined, and then looking at all invoices. So that way we can look at all of our invoices to see which ones have been paid, which ones are still waiting on payment, which ones have been sent, which ones have been unsent. We can look at all of our jobs, so we can see which one of those have been done, which ones are still in progress, which ones have been scheduled, unscheduled. And same thing with all of our service plans is being able to look at the different statuses, either filtering by the plan name, the status, the start and end date, and also be able to export that report to Excel. Basically, most of the reports you see in here today can be exported to Excel, so you can always have an opportunity to print it or share it with anybody that you need. How to search and create for reports. So we do have a couple of different reports kind of in different places. Some of them kind of automatically lead you to these particular sections. So under the customer tab, that is where you can find reports for jobs and estimates, but that's really more of what we're going to see is just kind of the overall list of all of our jobs and estimates. Whereas if we go into the reporting section, that's where we can start to get more granular on what data we want to look at within that report. So filtering by job tags, filtering by customer tags, that kind of thing. Now for the reporting dashboard, I'm going to kind of go through all of this through our demo, but with the reporting dashboard, you do have the ability to create your own dashboard. We always do start everybody off with about 4 dashboards that are pre-made for you with information that most business owners are looking for. You obviously do have the ability to, one, create your own, and you can always remove the ones that we have created for you. So if you find that it's taking up space or you don't need it, you can always get rid of those. For all the reports, the sections break down different reports based on what you're looking to see. So looking at jobs, estimates, leads, service plans, and payments. And again, I'll go in depth on each one provides in just a moment. And there is the custom section where it allows you to build your own reports. And when we save them, they're going to go to our custom report section. So how to search, create, and save reports. I'm going to kind of lead through this process, but again, there is a button that we're going to see is to create a report completely from scratch, but you can always go into any one of these reports here and start to manipulate it or build off of that report and save it as your own. Again, this slide is just kind of, I feel like is kind of reiterating what I've already been saying is just there are different reports. And again, we are going to go through each one, service plans, leads, and estimates. And with those, you're able to search for particular indicators such as jobs sold and the daily log. Again, I will demo this as we get into my account. And just another view here of how we're going to be able to see these reports. So creating a custom report, this is just going to, I guess, kind of go step by step. But as I mentioned at the top of your custom reports, also at the, yeah, it is in the custom reports. That's where you can create the report from scratch. Generally, when you click on it, it's going to go ahead and ask what kind of report that you're trying to build. So if it's going to be a material detail report, if it's going to be a jobs report, an estimate report, a service agreement report, that way we can start to build the foundation of what this report is going to entail. Like I said right there, it's going to ask us what type of report we're going to want to build. And then from there, we can start to put in our filters so that we can get more granular with what report we're particularly trying to build. So searching and saving reports, again, we'll demo this together, but there is a save report button. So once you've gone ahead and built your report to your liking, you can always save it, and that will go to your custom reports, as we've already discussed. And you can also save that report to your dashboard. So over time, as you build your own reports, if you want to remove the ones that we have that are already provided for you, you can always remove them, or you can even move them around and move your reports to the top of that page. Or as I mentioned, you could just get rid of all the dashboards and create your own dashboard with all of your own reporting. Sharing and scheduling reports. As I mentioned, there is an export button where we will just go ahead and email you a spreadsheet breaking down with the breakdown of that report that you built. There is also sharing and scheduling so that when you do save a report, you can have that report be shared with other staff members. So a lot of people I know taught say, like, I want to share this with my bookkeeper. So they go ahead and schedule it so that at the end of the month, end of the year, they get a particular report. So that way we don't have to bother about getting on the phone or actually getting in touch with them. For sharing those reports, again, it's just kind of pulling up what that report is going to be and scheduling when we want that report to go out, along with the frequency or the cadence that we want it to go out. So whether that's going to be daily, weekly, monthly, or we can just send a one-time report to somebody. So let's go ahead and take a look at how this is all going to look in real time. So first off, let's pull up my account here. I'm going to slide this over here as my little guide. So first thing is I'm going to just kind of touch on what is available in the home screen. Again, we did go over this in depth on a previous session a couple weeks ago, but just so that everyone can see what is available there, there's our estimates reporting, there's our job reporting, our invoices, and our service plans at a quick glance. So that way we can see this report and then kind of make our decision for what we're going to do next. You always do have the ability to click on any one of these reports. So for my unscheduled jobs, it's going to go ahead and give me that list of all those unscheduled jobs. And from there, I can click on any one of those jobs, go ahead and open it up and start to schedule it, maybe talk with the team and figure out who wants to take it, whatever that is going to look like. So similarly in there, there is the invoice reporting as well as the service plan reports. So again, we can click on any one of these to go ahead and pull up what those visits are going to look like. There are other ways to access these reports, as I mentioned. Instead of using the home screen, we technically could come up here to the customer screen, and that will give us access to our customers, our jobs, our estimates, our leads, and our invoices. So that's kind of the quick glance and also kind of more basic reporting and look in terms of looking at all estimates and looking at all invoices, all jobs, all leads. But now we're going to go ahead and start diving in and get more granular with our reporting. So with that, we're going to go up to our reporting tab right up here. So as I mentioned, we start everybody off with about four dashboards that are pre-made for you. We can look at tech performance, administrative, dashboard. Because it is the first of the year, or the first month of the year, I don't have a whole lot of reporting available. So you're going to see me. I'm going to have to customize my date range a bit just so that we can get some data. But just wanted to point out is that they are pre-made for you, along with those reports that are also pre-made for you. And also just want to demonstrate that there is the ability to move those reports around if you want them in a specific order. And the three dots allow us to go ahead and remove any of the reports that we don't need. Now, up here at the top, up in the upper right up here, we do have presentation mode. So what that is for is if you are a company that has, a brick and mortar location, and maybe at the front desk you have a TV screen that's up, and you want to show these reports so that everybody can see them as they're walking through the lobby, or just so that all the administrative people can turn around and look at this report. That's what presentation mode is for. Adding reports. Pretty straightforward, but that is where we can add any additional reports to our dashboards. So again, we can add any of the reports that we have already pre-built for you all. Or as I mentioned before, over time, as you add your own reporting, you can certainly add your custom reports to your dashboards. We also do have the Ask Analyst AI, so that is available to you instead of actually having to build out a whole report. If you just want to simply say, hey, how much revenue did I make in the year 2025? The AI analyst will go ahead and go through all the data and give you the answers so you don't have to build out that report. But if we always want to double check that work, we can always go to our reports down here. Now, for these reports, I usually go from the bottom to the top. I feel like it makes the most sense when I'm explaining them. So at the very bottom, we have our custom reports, which we talked about. Anytime you build your own report and you save it to the system, it is going to save it in this section so that we can pull that report up in real time with all of our parameters and filters already in place. There is also the option to create the report from scratch. So as we saw in the slide deck, this is where we can go ahead and set up what kind of report that we're looking to make. So if we're going to make a jobs report, at least that gives us a starting point, and then we can start to put in our filters and parameters to make the report that we're trying to build. The next set of reports that's above it is going to be the payments reports. I also say that this is very straightforward because what this allows us to do is to just go ahead and put in a date range. And this is one of the few reports that we're actually going to send you an email, and it's going to be a spreadsheet breaking down all of your payments within this time frame. So if you are ever looking for a report to see how much you paid in taxes, how much you paid in credit card fees, if you want to see the breakdown of cash versus check versus credit card payments, this is the report you're looking for. Also, if you are a company that's taking tips on credit cards, this is the report you're looking for to see where the tips for the credit cards are going to show up. The next reports that are up are our invoice reports. Now, we already saw that there was the quick glance, and we saw kind of the full report from the customer tab section. But this is where we can build a more efficient report just by looking at all of our outstanding invoices by just looking at all the open ones, or we can look at them by their aging dates. So the 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, that kind of thing. This is the report that we're looking for to see those outstanding invoices by date. We can also look at our created invoices. So when invoices were created either by date or by customer. Service plan reports. Now, we've done a couple of sessions on service agreements. I'm just going to quickly point out is just sidestep over to our service agreement section. And if any of you have been here, this is the service plan dashboard. And in my opinion, this is the best place to get all of your day-to-day information regarding your service agreements. I would recommend checking out our previous session because I did go in depth on every single thing that is here, but I just wanted to point this out that this is, in my opinion, the best place for your day-to-day service plan information. Now, when we go to reporting and we're looking at service plan reports, these are geared more towards the actual selling of the service plan. So we can see which service plans were sold by date, which service plans were sold by type, and which service plans were sold by employee. For leads reports, now that everybody should have access to leads, if you are using leads, this is where you'll be able to see those conversions of those leads. We can see how many of those leads turned into estimates, how many of them turned into jobs, how many were won, how many were lost. We can look at that either by date, by type, or by employee that was assigned to that particular lead. Similarly, just above that, we have the estimate reports, which is where we can see our conversion rates for our estimates. So how many of those estimates turned into jobs and how many didn't. We can look at that either by date, we can look at it by employee, or we can look at it by type. And then lastly, we have our jobs reports, which is where all our money is. So certainly we have more reporting available. So with our jobs, we can look at our jobs either by date, we can look at when they were paid in full, we can look at jobs by customer, we can look at jobs by type. So I usually tell my pros is this is where some of those job tags really start to come into play. Also, if you're utilizing the estimate and job fields, there's a spot for job type. So that's where all of this really starts to come into play. Time tracking. So we have the time tracking by employee. So if you are a company that does your payroll on billable hours, hours spent on the job, this is the report that you're looking for. So that way we can see how many jobs somebody has done over the last week, over the last month, and how much time has been spent at the job site versus how much time has been spent traveling to the job site. At the next one up here is our job costing reports. So everybody should probably have some familiarity with the job costing report that is on a single job. So as long as we are putting in a unit cost with our unit price, our material cost with our material price, or putting in any additional materials or miscellaneous costs in our job input section, we can then see how a job costing report is built on one single job. So I always tell my pros is again, as long as we are consistently doing this on every single job, we can then pull a bigger report over a longer period of time to see all of our costs versus all of our revenue versus all of our profit. For our employee reports, we have the tech leaderboard. So that is where we can see as reviews start coming in from the customers, we can see what a technician's average review rating is. We can see how many reviews they've gotten versus how many jobs they've completed. We can see how much revenue that a technician is bringing in. There's also on-job sales by employee. So there is places in our system to mark if an employee sold a particular service or if they sold a particular material. And then that way we can then pull a report to see how much they're bringing in upsells. If you are doing a company that's doing commissions, we do have a commission section. I believe we've talked about that in the past as well. I know we have some improvements coming to commissions, so that's something we might revisit again in the new year. But we do certainly, as long as you are labeling that specific people are supposed to get commissions for particular materials or services, we can then pull a report to see what those commissions are looking like. And then we have our line item reports here. The two I mostly talk about is our material on jobs. So with that, it's kind of how we were starting to do inventory. It's not inventory per se, but it's a material usage report. It allows us that every time we add a material as part of a service, as its own line item, or add it as a material cost. Essentially, what we're going to do is tally it for you so that you can see a report at the end of the month, end of the year, end of the week, how many times has this material been used? And similarly to that, we have service line items on jobs. So that's where you can pull a report and see what your most popular services have been over the last quarter, over the last year, over the last month, so that maybe, we can start to talk about maybe we'll do some kind of sale on this, or maybe we'll kind of push this towards a membership program. So it's a great way of finding out what your more popular services are. So before I dive into actually building and manipulating reports, I'm just going to take a quick look and see if there are any questions just about the reports themselves. So let's see what's available. Um, when will service agreement income and labor be included in reporting? So I do know that the service agreement income, from Troy. This is from Troy. That should be in your service plan section because it will show what the reoccurring revenue is up here at the top for your plans. Um, so that would really be the answer I would have for that. For the labor, in terms of the labor, it would be the amount of time that is, excuse me, spent on the service call. So for that, that reporting would show up in the one that I pointed out, the time tracking by employee. If you want to make it specific to service agreements, what my suggestion would be is for any of those service calls, you just make a job tag that says like, this is a service call, part of a service plan, something like that, because then that allows you to get more granular to say, I want to look at all of my jobs that are specifically service plans, and I want to see the labor on those particular jobs. So that would be my suggestion. Jennifer, I just learned to see reporting for the tracking attributes to create. If someone clicks and books on the specific link, the booking will come in as a tag from the track. Yep. Okay. So you're just talking about I get what you're talking about, Jennifer. Yeah, it's not really a question, but that does bring up a good point. That is the tracking attributes. I did bring this up when we were talking about online booking so that we can then start to get data of where people are clicking the link from to again see where our marketing time and money is best spent. So I'll post it here. And can you tell me what data is different in the payments report versus the job revenue report? I'm trying to get a clear picture. Brought in for 2025. There's also the service plan revenue is different. Either of these, cash for the calendar year, or will it take a few reports? Okay. Um, just because it sounds like you're saying that you have reports that are not accurate, I don't want to take up everybody's time like really diving into this issue. I would recommend maybe setting up a support call with one of my team members. That way we can designate 30 minutes to really diving into seeing what may have gone wrong here. But in my opinion, I've always told people when you're just trying to get the total amount for the year is it sounds like you're already doing it is really just getting job revenue earned and making that spread out for the entire year because that does give you exactly what you're looking for. Um, One of the reasons I would say maybe it might be off is some people don't always understand that there's displaying jobs where it's sometimes created, scheduled, or completed. So I tend to see people may have it stuck on scheduled when they're not going to completed, and that's honestly where the real revenue is at. It's when the job is actually completed. So that's just my 2 cents on it, is check on that. But again, I would suggest a support call, but the job revenue for the whole year is where you should be finding that report. Or you technically could go to the payments report and have that be an entire year long. It's going to be a pretty big spreadsheet for most of you, but that would be my other suggestion. And that's also where you, as I mentioned earlier, you can say, you can filter to specifically see, I want to look at my cash payments, but you'll have to do that filter on Excel, not in Housecall. Service plan revenue doesn't appear in other reporting. Is that correct? Just something to be aware of if running off revenue reports. Um, So with the service plan reports, again, the dashboard is where you can see that reoccurring revenue. But like looking at these, there is reoccurring revenue by month over the last 12 months. So there is some reporting in here that is in terms of the revenue, because again, this is more of towards the selling of the plans. Let's go last 365. So yeah, as we can see, like over the last year, I've had 64 service plans being sold. I can see how much revenue is collected from those service plans, and I can click on any one of these months to go further in. Oh, Maybe not. I thought, okay, I guess not. I used to be able to. Okay, at least this gives us the screenshot. So again, I would say for the best information on this, we would that would actually be service plans by month. At least tells us sold and revenue and the recurring. And what else are you looking for in there? I mean, that's trying to run the revenue. That would be what you're trying to look for. Server agreement, the unload step. Yes, that is very true. I have to choose there. Okay. Let's see. How can I create a report that shows what jobs have not been billed? Should this be under jobs or another sub? Um, so the ones that haven't been billed, that would be under invoices because jobs that haven't been billed, there would technically be an open invoice for it. So that would be my suggestion to see which ones have an open invoice. Um, I mean, you could technically go into like a monthly report and you can filter around a bit. Like I have job status as completed, but we can also say, not actually in filters, it's going to be in edit columns. Um, Kind of leading into what one of the reports that I always show everybody how to build. Um, Yes, I hear you, Troy. So for back to what I was going to say is one report I always show everyone how to build is a accounts receivables report. So I think this is kind of what you're looking for, Dusty. And what I do with that is I show everybody to go to, and I'm going to use a better example here. Again, my last year, well, so we have more data. And if I say job total and paid amount. All right, so now as I'm looking at this report, let's use the example where it's a really good one. Okay, this one. In the month of May, I had five jobs totaling $523, but I've only collected $51 of it. So this, I know we can go ahead and click on into that report and take a look at those five different jobs, see which ones that I'm missing my money on, and that way I can either reissue the invoice, talk to my technician, or call the customer, try and figure out why I didn't get paid. All right. So I don't see any other questions in regards to just the reporting themselves. So I did kind of dive into it a little bit, but I'll just kind of slow it down and bring it back just a moment here of just building out reports from scratch or just kind of building off of the reports we have. So again, I'm going to use the Easily Monthly report here. And at the top, again, as I mentioned, there's some filtering options up here so we can look at when jobs were created, scheduled, completed, or paid in full. We can change our date range to any date range that we like. So we do have the automatics for today, week to date, month to date, quarter to date, year to date, last week, last month, custom range, whatever you need. We do have some more filtering options over here, but with the report that I'm specifically trying to build right now, I'm just trying to build a monthly report. So I'm going to keep it at date and month. And then lastly is the filter button, which I showed you. This is where we can go ahead and filter by our job tags, our customer tags, filter by customers, filter by employees, really any of those filters we need to build that report that we're trying to build. Another good call out is because I was showing one of my pros today is for callbacks. So if you're using the callback feature in Housecall, which to me is more like when you show up and maybe a customer isn't there, so we can't get in, or maybe a customer cancels the service call but still wants to have it on another date, you can check the callback box. So in your filters down at the bottom, there is a spot to say, I want to look at all my callback jobs. So again, also just kind of reiterating some of the other things that are in here. So we were looking at, let's look at last year again. And I showed you all is over to the right here, we do have the edit columns button, which allows us to expand or contract our report with any additional information that we need and removing any information that we don't. As you can see, it's pretty detailed. We can look at our total costs, we can look at tip amount, we can look at profit margins, conversion rates, hours per tech per job. So really a lot of information so that you can build out this report to have it be as long as you need it to be. And I showed before that we can click on any one of these sections, primarily in jobs with dates. That one report for the times wasn't didn't really do it for us, but some of these reports will allow you to go a little bit further in. And there is the export button right there. So as I mentioned before, if we need to print this, send this to anybody, we can always do so. And also, as I discussed, there is the save report button up here so that we can save it to our custom reports. Let me put a little bit more information in here. I'll put in that job total and paid amount, and we'll save it monthly. And notice right there, there's a checkbox so that I can add it to my dashboard from here if I want, but I'm just going to go ahead and hit save. Now that the report is saved to the system, that allows me to light up the share and schedule so that I can either share this with a particular employee or we can always schedule it to be shared with any particular employees that we need. And then kind of the last thing I'm going to touch on, because we already did a lot of the reporting, is just kind of the business insights that are at the very top. So this is newer, but it is very useful for everybody because it allows us to go ahead and put in what our goals are for the year, what our goals are for the month, and then that way we can track some of this information. As we can see, I'm still a buck short of $1 million, but we're working on it. But that's where we could go ahead and see where we are in that particular in our revenue goals. We have our key driver metrics so we can see our job count. I want to try and get 70 jobs a year, so I'm clearly behind. And what our average job size is looking like, and kind of forecasting of what quarter two is going to look like. So where most of my jobs are going to be, mostly in the north. Cost of living within the 60605's area zip code, the industry, and number of employees. I'm just the owner operator, so it's really just kind of me. But it gives us a little bit of forecasting, and we also do have the AI coach right here. So there is some AI help to help you set up some of these goals that you're looking to set. But with that, I would say I don't see any new questions come in. So I'll give you all some time to put some questions into the chat, but I know we do have a couple that were prepared for us before the session. So I'll answer some of those. There's one from Raul. How are people tracking KPIs in Housecall Pro? I read most posts and seems like there isn't a workflow for this. I see people using apps. So Raul, I would need to know exactly what KPIs you're particularly looking for. Is it for the business? Is it for the employees? Because for the business, I would say your business insights is probably your best bet of tracking some of your KPIs because this is where we're setting our goals and we want to see where we're at. Um, some other KPIs is like in tech performance, if you're looking to see like what the technicians are doing. So 365. Victor, I just saw that pop up. I did just talk about it. It's the callback box. I'll demo that in just a moment. But so yeah, here in tech performance, this is where we can keep track of the time tracking, jobs completed. So if you do, and sales as well, commissions. So this would be my suggestion for technician KPIs. But in terms of business, I would say look at your business insights. How are you guys tracking technician performance in HCP? Track how many humidifiers a technician sold or if a part needs to be ordered. Okay. So for that, that's from Juan. That is going to be your materials on jobs. because for that, at least that's how you're going to track the humidifiers, and you're going to be track on parts that need to be ordered. So in here, I again just kind of the first of the year. Let me see if I can get a better date range. Okay. So yeah, here's over the last year, it's showing all of those different materials that I've used on my jobs. And within the filters, this is where if you are doing the material detail tracking, I know we did do a session on this with job costing a while back. Maybe we'll probably revisit this in the new year as well. But this is where I can say like where the particular source of that was, whether that was inventory or did it come off of my truck. I can also keep track of, as you mentioned, you're looking for the payment stat, the ordering purchase status. So was it ordered? Does it need to be ordered, received, or back ordered? So the material on jobs report is what you're looking for in terms of tracking how many humidifiers have been sold and what parts are on order. For tracking technician performance, I would go to the tech performance dashboard because that's really all the reporting for that. All right, Sean, how is everyone adding up their credit card fees through Housecall Pro for the year? As I mentioned, the best way to do that would be to go to a payments report, just set your date range over the last year, and there's going to be a column for credit card fees. And then within your spreadsheet, you can go ahead and just, create the sum of that entire column. That would be my suggestion. Bogdan, I'm looking for a report from HCP that lists sales tax collected on invoices. How do I get that? So Bogdan, same answer. You're going to go to this payments report because that's going to have your credit card fees and your taxes. Alex, uh, sold hours and billable efficiency. How are you tracking it? Um, Sorry, I'm not able to see like the entirety of this. I want to know how many hours our techs are. Chris or Lauren, if you can either like send me the full or I got it. I figured it out. Never mind. How are you tracking it? I want to know how many hours our techs are selling in a day compared to what we pay them for. If we could attribute a lot of time for flat rate tasks to an actual report, we already have timesheets as well. So Alex, it sounds like It sounds like you're using the timesheets, which is saying like you're clocking in at 8 in the morning, you're done at 5 in the afternoon, but you want to find I'm guessing, it sounds like you're trying to find those billable hours, which again is in the time tracking by employee report that I mentioned earlier. Um, if we could attribute the allotted time for flat rate tasks to an actual report. So I think I understand what you're saying is you want to see like a full report of like all your jobs that are flat rate have expected times and you want to see what the actual timing of it is. Chris, is that what you're
That's what I'm
thinking?
gathering that as.
Okay. So for that, unfortunately, we don't have a report in the reporting section that does this over a longer period of time. However, on individual jobs, and this will be a good point to show Victor where that box is. So when I go into a job, first off, to quickly answer Victor's question, it's going to be here in fields, and there's the callback box right there. You check the box, and now that will fall on our report when we try to pull a callback report. Now back to Alex's question. In our job costing breakdown down here, um, I kind of got to set myself up for this a little bit. Uh, so for that, we're going to look at jobs, cost and materials, and you're going to want to have show expected job costs on. And now if we go on a job, I don't know which one of my services is flat rate, but we'll try and put one in there. So Oops. Okay, so this isn't set for flat rate. Let's just go ahead and do it. I'm going to say that it's my apprentice that's going out there. This job usually takes 2 hours, and it includes my material X. Let's maybe not X, material X. Let's do, there we go, the dumpster. Okay, so we've gone over price book before, so I know I went really fast there, but we'll revisit that or definitely take a look at the previous session so I can explain everything that I did. But what I just did is I created a flat rate service so that when I stick it on my invoice, it's going to already have my labor and my materials included, and it's going to be for a 2 hour job, and it's listed at 580. And that's custom job HVAC. So let's get rid of that one and custom. Okay, so there's my quantity, and when we now are looking at our job inputs, that should have, oh, I didn't actually check the box, my bad. Recalculate our costs. So here is where it is showing our expected costs. So as we said, that job was only going to be 2 hours, and it was going to cost us $40 in labor, and our materials were going to be 400. So this is what we were expected to see. This is what we are expected to see from our flat rate. But because my person up here did work for 2 hours and didn't have any additionals, it's looking like our profit margin is a little higher because I didn't add any of the materials. So this is really how you get that expected cost versus your actual costs for flat rate. All right, next question from Dads. Has anyone found a way to look at invoice data by service versus material on a single report? So the answer is going to be no, because as I showed you when we are in our reporting, it's two separate reports. It's under our jobs, and we'll have it for materials on jobs and service line items on jobs. Just you could technically export them both into a spreadsheet and combine them, but as far as in the system, they're both separate. And Raymond, how do we track upsells per employee and add that upsell to an existing job so we don't run two separate transactions? Well, technically, when one of our technicians does an upsell, I usually coach my pros is to right here where it says sold by, that's where I can mark who sold it because and then that would technically be like our upsell. They sold this particular service. They sold this particular item. And then for that to pull that report is just back in our reporting section under jobs and it's the on job sales by employee. Okay. So that's all the ones that we had prepared. Any other questions coming through the chat? I don't see any new ones. Chris, any from Facebook?
Nope, don't see anything coming in right now. Last chance if you have a dying question, get it out there. But Phil, thank you for going through all of that, being detailed, all those questions. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
I also want to highlight we're gonna next week. I've got a couple of the product managers who work specifically on our reporting and analytics. They're gonna join me on Wednesday at 11 Pacific time, and that'll be if you're in our Facebook group, you'll see it there. I can share it with anybody afterwards. They're just gonna be talking through kind of what they're working on, and it's a perfect opportunity. I know some of you had some feedback, so bring your feedback there. Leave some comments for them. I know they'd appreciate any engagement. Um, I'm going to go ahead and drop our upcoming topics for Power Hour as well. So, if you've been thinking about Housecall Pro payroll, I've seen a lot of inquiries about it in the community groups. We're going to be doing essentially a demo call, a group demo call, so you can come on, check it out, see what's going on, see if it fits for your business. A lot has changed since we last covered payroll, almost 2 years ago. I think we did that pretty early on. So. We'll review that again. And then I know Phil started answering some questions kind of surrounding pricing. We were talking a little bit about flat rate. We're going to dive more into that in 2 weeks and talk about the price book a little bit, how to set up pricing for flat rate or hourly, and really just how to best utilize Housecall Pro. And then something we're going to do on the last Friday of every month starting this year is kind of a product roadmap. We're going to talk about kind of some of the newest things that are coming soon, and then we'll be taking kind of some top inquiries. So you have a popular question in one of our community groups that we can kind of tackle on Power Hour. We're going to do that as well, and I'll try and let everybody know what those might be at a time, so you can decide if you would like to attend. So with that, my only other reminder as well, if you have never been to our office hours before, you want to connect with other peers, that happens every Friday. It's happening tomorrow. Dropping the Zoom link to that now. That's at 11 Pacific time as well, 2 p.m. Eastern. It's for an hour, open hour. You can come bring any questions, thoughts, get some advice. Some of our House Call Pro staff, including myself, are there, so we can answer some of your product questions if you have those too. All right. Well, I don't see anything coming through. So, Phil, thank you. And we'll see everybody next week.
Yeah. Take care.
All right. Bye.